Well, I'd like to welcome everybody to the class this evening. I've just had a message coming through, which is by way of apology. Apparently, the email reminders didn't go out today, so I'm absolutely delighted that so many people are here. A little bit surprised, actually, but that's very good. Well done for getting here, and I'm particularly pleased, of course, because Ajahn Barry Subhaddo is going to lead the class this evening. I say it every time I introduce him, and I'm sure he's getting tired of me saying it, but it's just great to have somebody who's been such a long time member of the class, as it were, leading the class tonight, all the way from Spain, which is where he now lives. He and I go back a long way. And since then, he's done all manner of things. You can ask him questions about it at the end if you want to. You know, we've gone online, and the Buddhist Society is doing a remarkable job putting probably most of its classes online. And as a result, you know, I'm seeing that there are over 40 of us here at the class, probably from distant parts. And I think that's absolutely great. And you know, it's like clouds do have silver linings. Tonight's silver lining is having you all here and having Ajahn Barry here. And over to you, please, Barry.
Thank you very much, Colin. Welcome, everybody. I'll do a small introductory chant paying respects to the Buddha Dhamma Sangha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddham dhamam sangham namasami. For those who are not quite sure what that was about, that was paying respects to the Buddha Dhamma Sangha, because I'm going to be talking about the Dhamma. I'm not sure of the people here who has, I can see one there, who has sat with me before, but I'll give a brief outline of my my encouragement, which is sometimes a little bit different from the average that I hear. I'm very keen on sticking to the basics of Buddhism: anicca, dukkha, anatta. Everything is in a state of flux. Everything is changing from moment to moment. There is suffering, dukkha. And anatta, there is no self, there is no permanent self or separate self. And I consider, initially in my earlier days of practice, I used to think the Four Noble Truths was beginner's practice, because I was very much into the higher Yogacara, Mahayana, Mahamudra style of teachings. But the Four Noble Truths, I think, is the stone that drops in the water and causes the ripples of all these other traditions. And that's the truth of suffering, getting to know suffering, the First Noble Truth, understanding the causes of suffering, which are attachment to desire. I don't think desire, but attachment to desire. So it becomes a problem. The desire to become something, to become even enlightened, awakened, successful, to look outside and get extra physical new cars, new relationships, new houses, whatever, always looking outside to try and get happiness, which might work for a short time, but it doesn't last. There's always another thing to go for, to crave for. So that desire to become in that way, to become happy. And then there's the desire to get rid of, which is just the other side of the coin. So basically, I think our lives, or certainly my life, was all about getting rid of, I don't like this, I don't like that, I want that. Running away from life, running away from the way it is. The third noble truth is getting to know cessation, getting to know to drop this suffering, getting to know the end of suffering. Now, suffering is generally looked at as suffering as I can't get what I want, or I lose somebody, I lose in a relationship, or somebody passes away, or a pet passes away, or whatever. I lose my watch. But I think it's actually much deeper than that. Because we deny change, we try and fixate everything instead of knowing things will change, knowing that one day I will pass away, one day my pet will pass away, things will break, things will cease. But we try and fixate that. So obviously that's going to cause deep down suffering. Thinking that there's I am my thoughts, that this body is me, instead of my consciousness, my awareness, believing in it, and it's going to let us down at times. So we suffer. Denying that, or trying to fixate this idea of a self, a permanent self, that will go on, will be reborn into another realm, or go to some heavenly state, or whatever. Whether it is or it isn't is not relevant, because we're interested in now. We're interested in the way it is. And it's like this. But we tend to deny it. We tend to not trust it. We tend to cling to our samsaric world, the world we create in our minds. But the problem is we cannot fix samsara with samsara. We cannot fix the problem with the problem. So my encouragement is to, in a way, ask why. Why would I do these practices? Why would I take on anapanasati practice of watching the breath? Why would I do walking meditation? Why would I do sitting meditation? We often forget to ask the why. So we can, if we work really hard, we can become really good, proficient at watching the breath, or really proficient at doing Chongron, which is formal walking meditation. But why? So we're good at walking meditation. So we're good at watching the breath. So what? But if we look clearly as to why, and notice that when we are with the body, when we are present, we can perhaps notice that there is temporarily a cessation of suffering. There is nobody there in that very moment. ask yourself, especially in those times of meditation, of walking or sitting or talking, can you find a self? I've never met anybody who can, without projecting an idea of ourselves, but just knowing that pure awareness, that real mindfulness. And I say real mindfulness because we tend to practice self-consciousness. I am doing this. I am walking slowly. I am watching my feet, or I am following my breath. I don't really think that's mindfulness. That's self-consciousness. But if we watch our breath without following it, and just notice how is it in that very moment. Of course, I'll go back a bit. It is sometimes necessary in the beginning to settle ourselves down. And we need to use these techniques because we're so used to running around, distracting ourselves with everything that is available to us. But don't concentrate on perfecting the technique. Ask why. Notice how is it? How is your heart? How is your heart mind at that very moment? And this is not something remote or distant. It's right here, right now. Very, very obvious once we start to look. Through continually looking with just bare attention, not commenting, not judging, not altering, just paying attention, bare attention, we start to find that we start to trust that our intuitive side. We don't rely so heavily on our intellectual side, which is completely predominant in most people. Thinking they can work it out. As I said before, you can't fix samsara, you can't fix suffering with suffering. So let's look for something different. Let's look for a place that doesn't suffer. And that place is right here, right now, in this very moment, if we just pay attention. I spent many years in trying to find the source of the suffering, trying to really get to understand suffering. But it wasn't until I found non-suffering, even if it's just for a moment, I really started to understand the attachments that cause this suffering, the attachments to views and opinions, to my conditioning. So I generally do a guided or sweeping meditation, and I ask you to place your attention on particular parts of the body. Now, the body, it's just a matter of shifting the attention. The part of the body is not really that relevant. What is relevant is that when we shift the attention, there is a stopping. Now, if I say shift your attention to the hands or the fingernails, it's not about trying to picture them and relax them or do anything with it. It's just seeing how the mind stops in that moment. That stopping is not dumb or stupid. It's very aware. It's very responsive. We can learn to trust it. We have to actually prove to ourselves that we don't have to be the control freaks we are, as in trying to control the world myself, trying to make myself better. Just look to see how you really are prior to getting involved, prior to our conditioning and projections coming into play. So if you want to sit reasonably comfortably, in a posture that is, it needn't be bolt upright, it could be on a cushion or a chair, but a posture that actually helps you to be aware, helps you to realize when the mind starts to wander again. And that's not a problem. That's what the mind does. It's our job just to notice that. The moment we notice it, we're back in the presence, using the body or the breath or the sounds or the sound of silence. It really doesn't matter. Awareness is awareness. So sitting with that bodily awareness, just noticing, not projecting, not thinking, just noticing. How does it feel to be quiet? So bringing the whole of the body from the tips of the toes to the top of the head into your awareness. No judging, no projecting. Just being aware, nothing more. So becoming aware of the top of the head. Letting that awareness spread down from the top of the head down the back of the head. Just noticing how the mind stops when there is awareness. This is the important thing. Just to see that space between thoughts. Now becoming aware of the sides of the head and the ears. What happens with the mind when you place your attention on the ears? I cannot be aware of my ears, but I can notice the peace, the space between the thoughts, between the projections I would like to put on them. Just be aware, nothing more. There's nothing to gain or get here, nothing to become. So becoming aware of the forehead, the eyebrows, the eyelids, the eyes, the nose, the nostrils. Don't try and picture them. Just notice the space. Becoming aware of the lips, the tongue, and the mouth. Becoming aware of the chin and the jaw and the cheeks, the face. Now becoming aware of the neck and the throat. Now bringing into your consciousness, your awareness, your mindfulness, the neck, the whole of the face, and the whole of the head. Just noticing that space between thoughts that's not grasping. Whenever the mind wanders, that's just what the mind does. All we need to do is to realize that and come back, no more, no less. Nothing to do except to be aware. Now becoming aware of the shoulders. And the arms, the upper arms down to the elbows. And down from the elbows to the wrists, the forearms, the sides, the back of the arms. And becoming aware of the hands, the back of the hands, the size of the hands, the thumbs, the fingers, the joints of the fingers, the tips of the fingers, and the fingernails. Noticing that space before the mind kicks in. That's the thinking mind, the neurotic mind. Now becoming aware of the palms of the hands, the joints of the fingers, and the tips of the fingers. Now bringing your hands, your arms, your shoulders, the neck, the face and the head into your awareness. Just bare attention. Nothing to do, nothing to think about, nothing to adjust or alter. Just into that quiet space of awareness. Now becoming aware of the back, from the shoulders down the back, down the sides of the trunk, down through the rib cage, the shoulder blades, down the spine, the arch of the back, the lower back, the coccyx, the buttocks, and the hips. Now bringing the whole of your back from the buttocks, from the hips to the shoulders, your hands, your arms, your neck, your face, and the whole of the head into your awareness, into your consciousness. Don't project, don't label. Just notice that space that is awareness. Now becoming aware of the chest, from the shoulders down the chest, down through the rib cage, the sides of the trunk, the diaphragm, the stomach, the solar plexus, the belly, the navel, the intestines, the groin and the hips. Now bringing into your mindfulness the whole of the body, from the hips up to the shoulders and the hands and the arms, the neck, the head and the face. Not projecting, just being aware of the space. Now letting that awareness spread down from the hips, down the legs to the knees, the top of the legs, the sides of the legs, the back of the legs, the upper legs. letting that awareness spread down from the knees, down to the ankles, the shins, the sides, the back of the legs. Now becoming aware of the feet. From the ankles down the top of the feet, the sides of the feet, the toes, the tips of the toes, and the toenails. Now becoming aware of the heels, from the ankles down to the heels, the Achilles tendon, the arch of the feet, the ball of the feet, the balls of the feet, the toes, the joints of the toes, and the tips of the toes. Now bringing into your attention the whole of the body from the tips of the toes to the top of the head. You don't need to visualize it or project onto it. Just be aware, bear attention, not focusing, pure awareness in that space. So relaxing your posture if you need to, stretching or whatever, but please keep in mind that this can be part of meditation as well. Meditation isn't just a case of sitting down on a cushion or a chair and being quiet or doing anything special. Meditation needs to become part of life. So we practice being aware when we sit formally, as we've been doing, looking for that, bathing in that place, that quiet place, prior to the thinking process. So we're building a foundation, we're rediscovering that place of knowing the way it is. But there really is once you become familiar with this, there really is no reason why we can't know that in any situation. Whilst talking, walking, watching TV, running, you don't have to move slowly to be aware. You just have to be aware no matter what you're doing. It's a slightly wrong intonation there. You don't have to be aware. Just opening, just being aware, just being, not having to, just being aware. Noticing. Noticing that in that moment of awareness, there is a cessation of suffering. We can look at the various teachings and say cessation of suffering. Well, I've got a long way to go before I can reach that stage. Well, don't believe it. It's right here, right now, if we only let go. And just to clarify that, we cannot let go. But by being present, by being truly mindful, there is an automatic letting go. We tend to think we have to do everything. We have to do the practice. Buddhism is about letting go, not about grasping. And the only way to let go that I know of is to be aware with pure awareness. Don't particularly like using the word pure, but just bear attention. And there's an automatic letting go. But we tend to dismiss this because it seems like nothing. It seems like I'm not doing the practice. I'm not doing the techniques. The techniques all lead back to this, except we become attached to the techniques. We think that is the Buddhist practice. The techniques are Buddhism. No, they're techniques to enable us to see the truth of the way things are. So keeping it simple, just being aware. Just trying in every situation. We'll sit another period, and then I'll invite questions, which would be really nice if people have questions, because it brings all sorts of things out and helps others. But try in the next session, I'll be a bit quieter, just a few reminders. But look, really discover and rediscover that place that is at true peace. That place that is prior to the thinking process, but not stupid, not dumb. That place of balancing the intuition with the intellect. The intellect has taken over completely, and we believe that we've completely neglected our intuitive side. learning to know that, learning to become familiar with that, to trust it, because we don't generally, because we like to think we're in control. So we'll sit again for another period. So I'll ring the bell again and just feel yourself opening up, quietening down on each stroke of the bell. So there's no need to do anything except notice when the mind goes off on a trip. Just gently come back to a part of the body or a whole of the body. It could be the hands, the nose, anything. Becoming aware of the breath, not following the breath, just awareness, just light awareness. No need to follow it. But what is important is that we are aware of how our mind, how our heart mind is when there is awareness. This is the most important thing. If the mind starts to wander even more, just using the body, allowing a little bit more energy flowing into the body, just being aware of it, not to get or gain or become, just to aid in our awareness. So we notice the mind's wandering, and we notice the ceasing, the cessation when we are aware. If you are familiar with listening to the sound of silence, listen. If you're not familiar with it, just listen intently, not to outside sounds, but just listening, remembering that awareness is awareness, whether it's listening, being aware of the hands or the feet or whatever. So just remembering why you're here, remembering to notice when the mind wanders. Definitely do not make a problem of that. It's what the mind does. It's divisive by nature. It's just for us to notice that and to notice that space prior to the thinking, to our neurotic thinking process. So using the body, using the hands, maybe there's a lot of energy in the hands. Just below the navel, the small of the back, or your seat. Just whatever is easiest for you to anchor your mind to, that enables you to be aware and catch the wandering monkey mind. Just to notice it, just to come back to the body, and the body is present. And when there is presence, there is an opportunity to see that space. Just gently returning with loving kindness, with metta, returning to the present, returning to the body. Being aware of the breathing, just the gentle breathing. So just being aware when the mind wanders. Using whichever tools suit most a part of the body, the whole of the body, the hands, the face, the breath, the listening, the sound of silence. Just bathing in that space prior to the thinking process. Where are you now? Just come back. Just look. Rediscover that place prior to the thinking process. if things become uncomfortable, there's no problem with moving your posture. But it's just, instead of just reacting, respond, which means to look at those feelings first and then move if you need to, instead of just reacting and moving abruptly. Do it with mindfulness, with awareness. So I'll ring the bell in a minute or so, but please don't think in terms of it's the end of the meditation. There is no time but the present. The past has gone, the future is just imagination. There is only now, and there is only now to be aware, to be mindful, to notice. So using that reflection as a support to help us to be mindful, help us to come back instead of looking back or forward. So please, if anybody has any questions at all, please don't hesitate to ask. because it can be helpful to everybody. And it also gives me sometimes a different slant on ways to practice, or a particular question somebody has opens up a new avenue, so to speak. So are there any questions at all?
Good evening.
Hi there.
I'm Ajahn Barry Subhaddo.
Hi there.
Hello. I very much enjoyed your introduction. You lost something? Oh, that's me.
Yeah, I can see you now. Yeah.
I enjoyed your introduction again, a reminder of the Buddhism, and really this excellent guided session. I'm sorry, I'm a bit slow.
No worries at all.
Having exceeded my 80th birthday, I'm very prone to sleep at regular intervals.
Yes.
I like to think that I do it something a little more sophisticated than just go for unconscious for half an hour during the daytime. So I presume that I'm meditating first and allowing myself then gradually fall asleep.
Absolutely.
There is a very strong link because all my life I've used meditation to fall asleep when I couldn't and had restless nights. So
yes.
where does meditation stop and sleep begin, so far as our consciousness goes?
Well, I can't really answer that question, because my whole, for myself and my whole encouragement is to, when we are able to be aware, that we are aware to discover that place prior to the thinking process, that place of true letting go. But I know for myself that when I get into bed at night, I lie on my back, I sweep through the body and become very aware of the body, and then drift off to sleep. And the same when I wake up in the morning. I wake up and then the mind wants to start thinking, but again, I sweep through the body. I rediscover that place of bathing in that awareness. I have had times of intense practice in the Zen tradition, and it seems that I was bringing my practice into my sleep. But yeah, I don't know. I honestly don't know.
It sounds,
all I know, sorry, carry on.
It sounds as if you are saying that meditation is meditation as long as it remains a conscious effort to remain awake.
Well, awake as in terms of not in a dream state, as in my mind is in the Bahamas on a beach, but it's right here.
Yes.
So that's what I call awake. When we sleep, we sleep. If we sleep entering it in a place of clarity, of mindfulness, then the sleep will generally be a little bit more peaceful.
So I can meditate and fall asleep quietly and be very happy with it.
Absolutely. Well, I would. Yeah. I mean, this is about being human, fully human. It's not about being special and staying awake, totally awake and aware for 18 hours a day or whatever it is. If we need to sleep, we sleep. But if we can enter that sleep from a place of awareness, all the better, all the better.
I agree. Thank you very much.
Okay, I hope that's. I'm sure you understand what's going on in your practice. So I wouldn't get concerned about that at all.
Oh, thank you.
So please, anybody who has any other questions,
Hi, Subhaddo. Thank you for your guidance for this practice.
My pleasure.
Hi, I just wanted a little bit of clarification on the formal posture. It's been that question's been asked before, but I was just wondering. I always have an image of somebody being cross-legged with a straight back, sat on the floor, meditating. I understand that's not to everybody's ability.
Yeah.
But, how do I? Because I've tried now to sit on an office chair to support my back because I felt quite uncomfortable on the floor, especially with two sittings, and I'm still uncomfortable, but like I am able, on the other hand, to sit on the floor. It's just a little bit more uncomfortable. So how do I decide for myself? Do I stand with the back unsupported if I can, or because I'm spending quite a lot of time deciding whether now is the time to move or can still stay with the discomfort, because that's been beneficial.
Yeah. Find the posture that is best for you. I have been through practices of holding the perfect posture, etc. For me, I tended to attach to that. I tended to think that was the practice. Me sitting on a cushion with my legs crossed, my back straight, my head pushed up slightly, my teeth clenched, and that was practice. But no, awareness can be in any posture. It's in the scriptures, walking, standing, sitting, and lying down, and all postures in between. Awareness is awareness of no matter what posture we're in. So I would suggest to you that you find the best posture for your back, which will enable you to be aware or to notice when the mind is wandering. Don't try and create some special, oh, I must sit this way, but it gives me back problems. That's falling into desire again, desire to become something. If I do this, it will work. The thing that works is bare attention, mindfulness, awareness.
Okay.
Does that help you at all?
It sort of answers, so I can sit on a chair that supports my back if that helps me.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, there are certain things, you know. We sit on the cushion on a mat to form a tripod with the knees down. Not everybody can do this, but the ideal is with the knees down, the backside on the seat, and you have like a three-legged pronged tripod. Well, they also say, you know, if you sit on a chair, create the same. Sit on the chair, your backside on the chair, and the feet slightly apart, again forming a tripod. These are just techniques, but find out what is best for you. You know, because, you know, I do this sweeping guided meditation, but it's not about everybody doing that each time. It's about noticing how the mind stops when our attention shifts. But we can choose anything. My hands are my favorite to stick with, or the sound of silence. So it can be whatever anchors the mind most easily without being forceful, without concentrating, just gives it like a tether, gets it a slight, as soon as the mind wanders, it stretches that rope a bit and we're aware. So find out for yourself what is best for yourself, and then really apply being aware, so to speak, every time the mind wanders. The posture is in a sense, it's not really relevant. What is relevant is that we are aware and not lost in our dream state of creating delusions and fantasies and the rest of it.
Okay, thank you.
Pleasure.
Hi, I really enjoyed your guided meditation. It's Maggie here.
Hi there.
Each time when I meditate, and you know, like today you are saying that we are bathing in a place of knowing, and we are noticing each part of the body. My mind is, you know, a little bit scattered because I'm just reminding myself that everything we feel or see or experience that does not exist. So where we are looking, so what is the connection of looking at our part of the body to feel what? To feel emptiness, to feel the space, and to understand that nothing exists? Or I don't know if you understand my question. Sorry.
Yeah, I think I do. I mean, when I suggest to look at part of the body, it's actually not to do with the part of the body. It's to notice how when the attention shifts, to say to my hands, there is a moment prior to that, without me projecting, without me identifying the part of the body, that there is a space. There's a space before the thinking process. That's the important thing.
And is that space what exists? That space you can call that is what exists?
Well, let's put it this way. You cannot grasp it. You cannot get hold of it. To say whether it exists or doesn't exist are just games, really. Just get to know that place. It's ungraspable. It is, in a sense, pure knowing, but in a sense, we cannot know it. It's not ours. It just is. But to give it names of nothing, you know, it's just, it confuses the issue.
Yes, you're right. Actually, I just now see that this knowing and awareness, which we cannot grasp, is actually the world we want to live in. Yes.
Yes. It's getting to know that. It's getting to trust, to use words, our true nature, which we don't trust generally because we've invested so much in our thinking mind. We think that is reality, but we're not looking this time. We're looking for that space prior to us creating the world.
I see. Thank you so much. That was helpful. Very helpful.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hi there.
Many thanks for the wonderful session, first of all. And I'm a beginner, and I'll greatly appreciate if you can let me know how much a Buddhist meditates per day and what other practices does on a daily, weekly basis in order to gain this feeling of relaxation and happiness and calm.
Okay. Yeah.
Many thanks.
I think my encouragement here is very important because it's so easy to start practicing, I think, say in the wrong way, to become something, to believe the techniques are the practice. And this is what people generally cling to instead of seeing that Buddhism is about letting go. It becomes about becoming a good meditator, becoming whatever. So that's to be, you know, it's nice if that's seen when we enter the practice. But initially we need to, I would suggest that you try and make a time after you get up in the morning, before you do work or studying or whatever, to have a short time of meditation, formal meditation, to have a routine. And if possible, before you go to bed at night, to have a routine there of just settling down, just coming back to the present moment, just noticing that place, and then going to sleep. So you sort of frame the day, either end of the day. If you can, find times during the day to meditate. And I must be clear here, I do consider meditation as a 24-hour thing, so to speak. It's not just on the mat, on the chair. It's bringing it into your lives. So I don't know what you do for a living or whatever, but you can find initially a minute or two just to stop, just to punctuate your life. Instead of going from one thing to the next thing, to the next thing, to the next thing, just stop for a fraction of a second, just a fraction, stop. Then the next thing, stop. If you get an opportunity for 5-minute break or longer, great, wonderful. Bring it into your life. Make it not a special thing, but a life thing. Just your way of life. Always cultivating that awareness. Cultivating, looking, see. But noticing that letting go when we're present. Always bringing that into your life. Because the practice starts right now. What happens many times is people practice for many years and then they have a crisis and they fall apart and they say, it doesn't work. All this practice doesn't work. Well, it doesn't work because we haven't laid the foundations. We haven't brought the practice into our life, but we expect some sort of miracle when there's a crisis. That's not going to work. So try and bring the simple practice into every moment that you can. And all that means is noticing, remembering to come back and noticing the results, so to speak, of coming back into the present moment and see how that goes.
That's very kind. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much for bringing us this beautiful silence and awareness through the meditation, which is really beautiful. So thank you. I have a small question. How do you approach? One of the things I found is the conventional thinking seems to fall by the wayside. So whereas before I could, apply myself, I tend to it just sort of drifts away into the awareness, and I'm quite happy to remain in the bliss state all the time. But I'm also conscious that, things need to get done and do them.
Yeah. This really isn't about blissing out. It's not about quiet sitting. It's about aware sitting. So in that quiet place that I'm encouraging us to rediscover, to find, that is not dumb or stupid. It's very aware. So it can, at the moment, are you sitting on a chair?
Right now, yes.
Yeah, okay. Can you feel your seat on the chair?
Yes.
Yeah. What's happening in your mind when you're aware of your backside?
I'm just usually wondering how long it'll be before I'll be in it.
Without you don't need to think about this. You just need to be aware in that moment. What is happening in your mind when you are aware? Just nothing else. You don't need to project. You don't need to think it out. There's a natural awareness.
Is that a question for me?
Yeah.
I don't know. My mind's a bit blank.
Okay. Your mind's blank. Can you hear me?
I can. I mean, it's,
Can you see me?
I can indeed. Yeah.
Okay, so you're not blissing out, but there is awareness.
Mm.
Yeah?
Yes.
So we're looking, when we are present, and the body is the easiest because it's right here, right now, and it can't lie to us as the mind tends to do. When we are present, there is an open awareness, and that doesn't prevent us from doing anything. We can go to work, we can have a conversation, but we're acting, so to speak, from that place of awareness instead of from this dream state we create in our minds.
That was another part of my question, because sometimes, I mean, I'm doing less formal meditation and more sort of trying to be aware all the time. But sometimes I notice that it feels as though my mind is taking a bird's eye view upon myself. So it's another type of thought, as opposed to being in the awareness where there is no thought. Can you comment on that?
Yeah, I mean, again, there is no thought. What tends to happen, say in the Theravadan tradition, it's called the silent thinker. So you from that place of awareness, there is the silent thinker, but it's not from the intellect. It's clear thinking that's not biased for me, for my intentions, etc. So it's not about it's not about not thinking. It's about thinking from that place of clarity.
Yes, I understand.
Does that approach that question?
Partly. I think a lot of what you've said today helps towards it. But I think sometimes the thought is, you can have an abstraction in your mind, an idea of what something is, you know, awareness. And sometimes that does happen, is what I was trying to say about being on a, you know, a thought, looking down on yourself, a bit like taking a bird's eye view of something, which is a type of thought. And that type of thought can get confused with awareness, as opposed to what you're saying, which is actual awareness.
You see, the thing is, once you learn to be at home with the present moment, so to speak, through that place of bare attention, when does the thought occur? The thought occurs right now, in clarity. So that thought is fine if there is clarity around it. But if you're lost in a dream state of wanting to be whatever, wanting to be enlightened even, wanting to be a good practitioner, wanting to be rich, wanting to be famous, then that's a different kettle of fish altogether.
Mm.
Yeah?
It's always
So-
something to, that's something that's always there, is wanting to be a better meditator.
Yeah.
And I won't take any more time, but thank you so much. That really, really helps.
Okay. But don't go too much on wanting to be a better meditator or a better practitioner. Look for the way it is now.
Yeah. It's that grounding. Fantastic. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Barry and everybody, gosh, it's, believe it or not, it's about 9:10 in Spain.
Yeah.
8:10 here in England, and it's been a great evening. Thank you very much. I mean, there've been, and thank you to everybody. It's been a great question and answer session, and thank you for your questions. And of course, it's been clear that Barry's provided a lot of help. As I say, we're extremely grateful for that. He will be back something like the 27th of May. He looks after this class, leads this class on the last Thursday of every month. But the class meets every week, every Thursday. And I was just thinking, I mean, the questions were rolling along this evening. I had a suspicion, there's probably more in the pipeline. Do bring them along next week. I think that's what I'm trying to say. If you've got some more questions, come and sit for a bit. The class is on, and I guess I'll be doing it. I'd be delighted to keep talking like this. So look, had a great evening. Thank you very much, Barry. To everybody here, thanks for coming. Love to see you next week. In between times, do take care. There are all these restrictions on. Look after yourselves, look after other people, and view your practice really as being an offering to other people. It's often frustrating for ourselves, but just look at it like good Buddhists should. Take care, everybody. Thanks.
Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.